October 2nd, 1950, the first Peanut strip made its debut in 7 newspapers. Despite its modest start, Peanuts would go on to become a worldwide phenomenon. Much of this success is due to the amount of effort Charles Schulz put in the strip. He created stories and characters anyone can relate to. Everyone has been a failure like Charlie Brown, felt as crabby as Lucy, daydreamed like Snoopy, and has been as messy as Pigpen. Peanuts is considered one of the best strips ever made, if not the best, for a good reason. It's just that good. Peanuts also left a huge impact on the world of animation. For most people, their first introduction to Charlie Brown and Snoopy was through their many TV specials and movies. Some only know them through their animated appearances. The question is, how did Peanuts get involved in the medium? To answer this question, we have to go back to the 50s, when Peanuts wasn't the powerhouse it would become. According to the book Schulz and Peanuts, Schulz received an offer as early as 1954 to adapt his characters for TV animation. He turned it down because at the time he had no interest in animation. This is a pretty ironic moment when you think about how popular the characters would become in the medium. You have to consider the time this offer was made. Peanuts, like television, was still relatively new in 1954. The characters hadn't quite developed into the ones we know today. The same is true for television, and this is especially true for animation. Most of the cartoons shown on TV first appeared in theaters. This explains why their animation is so good, since the creators had more time and money to work on them. At the time, networks weren't so willing to spend a lot of time and money on cartoons for TV. The first cartoon made for TV was Crusader Rabbit from 1948. If you think the animation for a Hanna-Barbera cartoon in the 60s was primitive, Crusader Rabbit barely qualifies as animation. Most of the time, the cartoon was just still images with a narrator telling you what's going on. It was like looking at storyboards. There were other cartoons made for TV in the 50s, but most of them weren't much better than Crusader Rabbit. As fun as it would have been to see Peanuts cartoons from 1954, Schulz was probably right in turning down the offer. The area where animation excelled at the most during this time period were in commercials and opening credits for TV shows. It is here where Peanuts would get its first big break. In 1959, the J. Walter Thompson firm had been hired by the Ford Motor Company to launch an ad campaign for the Ford Falcon. It was during one of their meetings that someone suggested they use the Peanuts characters. They contacted Schulz for the use of his characters. He agreed to the deal, since the only cars he drove were Fords. The characters were used in posters, newspaper ads, and of course, TV commercials. Bill Melendez, who had worked for Disney, Warner Brothers, and UPA, was brought in to animate the characters. Melendez would later remark how at first he thought the characters would be easy to animate, only to find out that they were the hardest characters to animate. The problem lies in the fact that Schulz designed them for comic strips, rather than for animation. He must have done a good job, since he would stay with Peanuts to the day he died. Early on, It was decided that kids would be used to voice the characters rather than adults doing kid voices. This would prove to be a good and bad idea. Good because you get an authentic kid voice for the characters. Bad because every so often they have to find new actors because kids' voices change. The first Ford Falcon commercial features Charlie Brown handing out chocolate cigars to everyone. Lucy asks if Charlie Brown got another baby sister. Linus tells her no, he's celebrating the Ford Falcon. To put this commercial in context, 1959 was the year Sally was first introduced in the strip. Charlie Brown celebrated the occasion by handing out chocolate cigars. This explains Lucy's comment. The commercial proved to be a huge success, but it wasn't without criticism. Some saw this as Schultz selling out. Others thought it was wrong to use the characters to sell products, in this case, cars. The Newspaper Comics Council held an event that asked the question, how greedy can you get? This reaction baffled Schultz, as he was always careful in how his characters were used. After all, he loved to drive Fords long before they approached him. For the most part, he paid little attention to the criticism. This commercial would lead to the characters to be used in the opening to the Tennessee Ernie Ford show, which was sponsored by the Ford Motor Company. One such opening showed Charlie Brown lip-syncing to a recording of Paul Frees's voice. Paul Frees, for those who don't know, was a prolific voice actor back in the day. He is perhaps best known as the voice of Boris on Rocky and Bullwinkle. The 1950s may not have produced any TV specials or movies, but it is an important time for Peanuts. This commercial and opening helped lay the groundwork for what is to come. They set the precedent that real kids will voice the characters, and it introduced Charles Schultz to Bill Melendez. There are only two things missing: a third partner and a call from Coca-Cola. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later. During the early part of the 60s, the Peanuts game had appeared in several commercials for the Ford Falcon. The commercials became so well known that Mort Walker, creator of Beetle Bailey, parodied them in the short-lived strip, Sam Strip. Schultz was always proud of the Ford Falcon commercials, despite the criticism they received. He felt they treated his characters with dignity and respect. This was something that was always important to him. The success of the Ford Falcon commercials led to the characters to advertise for Weber's bread. With the strip's popularity on the rise, there was growing interest in furthering the character's animation career beyond advertising. The first big break came when Lee Mendelson, an independent producer, had completed a documentary on baseball legend Willie Mays. Peanuts is well known for having Charlie Brown's team lose at baseball. Mendelson figured that he already made a documentary on the greatest baseball player of all time. Why not make one on the worst? The documentary would be called A Boy Named Charlie Brown. The title was a play on the Willie Mays documentary, A Man Named Mays. It showcased the life of Peanuts creator, Charles Schulz, accompanied with animation done by Bill Melendez. Because of the high cost, Mendelsohn was only able to afford a few minutes worth of animation. Many of the kids from the commercials, such as Peter Robbins as Charlie Brown and Chris Shee as Linus, were brought in to voice the characters. For music, Mendelssohn brought in jazz musician Vince Guaraldi. After hearing his music, Cast Your Fate in the Wind play on the radio. It was for a boy named Charlie Brown that Guaraldi wrote Linus and Lucy, which would go on to become the theme song for Peanuts. In 1963, the documentary was completed. All they had to do was sell it to a network. The problem was, nobody was interested in buying it. Everyone they showed it to thought it was good. It's just that, for whatever reason, nobody wanted it. One group of people who had seen A Boy Named Charlie Brown were the executives at Coca-Cola. Like everyone else, they had no interest in the documentary. They did, however, want to sponsor a Christmas special. John Allen of the McCain Erickson Agency called Lead Mendelsohn to ask if he, Schultz, and Melendez had ever talked about making a Christmas special. Sensing an opportunity, Mendelsohn told him yes. After agreeing to make the special for Coca-Cola, Mendelsohn called Schultz and said, "Hey Sparky, I think I just sold a Charlie Brown Christmas." "What's a Charlie Brown Christmas?" Schultz asked. "It's something you have by tomorrow to make an outline for," Mendelsohn said. After Mendelsohn explained the situation, Schultz became excited to work on the Christmas special. Early on, he insisted that they explore the religious side of the holiday, despite objections from Bill Melendez. Lee Mendelsohn came up with the idea of having a tree involved with the plot after reading The Fir Tree by Hans Christian Andersen to his kids. Schultz loved the idea, but he felt it had to be a tree that Charlie Brown would get. At the time A Charlie Brown Christmas was made, aluminum Christmas trees were popular. This is why the little tree Charlie Brown got was made out of wood, and why Linus asked if they even still made wooden Christmas trees. They had to work fast, for they were only given 6 months to make the special. The kids from the commercials and documentary were brought in to voice the characters. There was some debate as to what to do with Snoopy. Although he couldn't talk, you were able to read his thoughts in the strip. It was decided that he would remain a silent character. For sounds such as blah or laughter, Bill Melendez made a demo tape for an actor to follow. Because of the time and budget restraints they were under, Melendez ended up voicing Snoopy himself. He would go on to voice Snoopy for years to come. Vince Guaraldi was brought in to do the music. One piece of music he wrote was called Christmas Time is Here. Lee Mendelsohn felt there should be words to it. Because he was unable to get anyone else, he ended up writing the words himself. With only 3 weeks until its debut, A Charlie Brown Christmas was completed. Mendelsohn, Melendez, and their staff were horrified with the way it turned out. Ed Levitt, one of their main animators, proclaimed that A Charlie Brown Christmas will run for 100 years. Nobody shared his optimism. The executives at CBS felt the same way. They said that they would air the special only because they had already advertised it. Once they aired it, CBS wouldn't be ordering any more specials. Much like Charlie Brown's ball games, the future of Peanut specials looked bleak. On December 9th, 1965, A Charlie Brown Christmas premiered on CBS. The response was overwhelmingly positive. It would go on to become a beloved Christmas classic. It also renewed interest in having a real Christmas tree rather than aluminum. Thus, the special was said to have single-handedly put aluminum trees out of business. Just as Ed Levitt predicted, the special is still shown every year. Although Bill Melendez would often say he found it hard to watch A Charlie Brown Christmas with all its imperfections, he was pleased that so many people enjoyed it. He was probably more pleased with the money he, Schultz, and Mendelsohn made off A Charlie Brown Christmas. In 2001, Melendez stated that they went 20 grand over budget, but they went on to make over $5 million off the special. Not too bad. With the success of A Charlie Brown Christmas, CBS was more than happy to order another special. This was great news for the free partners, for they had already started work on a second special before they knew how the first one would turn out. This one would center around baseball and called Charlie Brown's All-Stars. As Mendelsohn said, we had started a baseball show. We didn't know if it would sell or not. About 1/5 of Sparky's strips were about baseball, and I'd been a lifelong baseball fan, as was he. When they asked if we had another one, we said we had Charlie Brown's All-Stars. I felt that if anything was ever going to work with Charlie Brown, it would be baseball. The story involved Mr. Hennessy, the owner of a hardware store, wanting to sponsor Charlie Brown's team if he were to get rid of all the girls and Snoopy. Even though the girls are often mean to him and Snoopy can be disrespectful, Charlie Brown refuses to kick them out, showing us what a loyal guy he is. On June 8th, 1966, Charlie Brown's All-Stars made its debut. Like A Charlie Brown Christmas, the response to Charlie Brown's All-Stars was overwhelmingly positive. As successful as the special was, CBS had a problem. It wasn't the kind of special they could re-air each year, like they could with A Charlie Brown Christmas. So they asked Lee Mendelsohn if he, Schultz, and Melendez could make a holiday blockbuster. Schultz immediately said, "Hey, The Great Pumpkin. We got one." On October 27th, 1966, It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown debuted. It would go on to become a beloved Halloween special, giving CBS the holiday blockbuster they wanted. Bill Melendez was always more pleased with how It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown turned out over A Charlie Brown Christmas. He said, "The pumpkin show I liked. I did it under great duress. I still had that $76,000 budget, but I knew how to pace myself to make it cheaper. The story was good and the music was great. It was a beautifully designed and a beautifully colored show. With 3 successful specials under their belt, Schultz, Mendelsohn, and Melendez would go on to make 3 more specials before the end of the decade. You're in Love, Charlie Brown on June 12, 1967. This special was significant for a few reasons. It was the first to explore Charlie Brown's love for the little red-haired girl. It was the animated debut of Peppermint Patty, and it was the first time they used a trombone to serve as an adult's voice. The idea came about when Schultz asked Mendelsohn how they were going to handle the teacher since they didn't feature adults. Mendelsohn then asked Vince Guaraldi if there was an instrument that could mimic human speech. He pulled out a trombone, and the rest is history. February 14th, 1968, saw the release of He's Your Dog, Charlie Brown. This special featured Charlie Brown sending Snoopy off to the Daisy Hill Puppy Farm to learn some manners after misbehaving. Instead, he goes to Peppermint Patty's house, where he overstays his welcome. While the weakest of the 60s specials, He's Your Dog, Charlie Brown marked the last time the original kids voiced the characters. Though Peter Robbins would continue to voice Charlie Brown to the end of the decade, it also marked the first time Phil Ramone would work on a Peanuts special. He had previously worked for Disney, Warner Brothers, and Chuck Jones prior to joining Mendelsohn and Melendez. Although he only did the graphic blandishment for the special, as well as the next 4, Phil Ramone would later play an important role in the Peanuts specials. This was a strange twist of fate, for earlier in life, Ramone had taken a correspondence course on cartooning with Charles Schultz as his instructor. The final special of the 1960s was It Was a Short Summer, Charlie Brown, released on September 27th, 1969. This special showed the kids writing a school paper on what they did over the summer. They all went to summer camp, where the girls beat the boys at every event. The highlight of the special was when Snoopy, as the masked Marvel, arm wrestled Lucy. Schultz would later say it was some of the best animation they ever made. The 60s would end with the premiere of the first Peanuts movie, A Boy Named Charlie Brown. Check out Peanuts movie reviews for more about it. The 6 specials and the movie proved that the Peanuts characters can work in animation beyond commercials and intros. While most people just watch A Charlie Brown Christmas and It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown, the other specials made it clear that they didn't need to center around a holiday to draw in viewers. Peanuts had real staying power, and fans were about to get bigger. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments section what you guys think, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later. Charles Schultz may have been reluctant to adapt his characters to TV animation in the 50s. The 60s showed him the possibilities the medium offered. He began to see how the specials could allow him to tell certain stories that would never work in a comic strip. And he planned on taking full advantage of it. On March 28, 1971, Play It Again, Charlie Brown became the first Peanuts special to air in the new decade. It centered around Lucy's unrequited love for Schroeder. Lucy was able to get him a gig performing for the PTA. The only problem is that they want to hear rock and roll music instead of Beethoven. Charlie Brown, Snoopy, and Pigpen are more than happy to serve as his band, but Schroeder isn't sure he wants to become a rock star. It marked the first time a Peanut special didn't center around Charlie Brown. While not a bad special, Play It Again Charlie Brown proved to be a forgettable one. Schultz admitted in an interview with Penthouse that he never saw a finished copy of the special before it aired, saying, "It's my fault. I didn't go there often enough and work carefully enough with them." He promised to make up for Play It Again Charlie Brown with the next movie, Snoopy Come Home. Released on August 9, 1972, Snoopy Come Home would mark the animated debut of two major Peanuts characters, the first being Woodstock, who served as Snoopy's traveling companion. Like Snoopy, Woodstock's voice would be provided by Bill Melendez. The second character is Franklin, who plays a small role. The movie would be the first time Vince Guaraldi didn't write any of the music in the Peanuts production. Instead, the Sherman Brothers, who are famous for their work for Disney, were brought in to write the songs. It also features Phil Ravenscroft, the voice of Tony the Tiger, singing No Dogs Allowed. On October 29th of that year, the special You're Not Elected Charlie Brown premiered. It features Linus running for student body president. The special pokes fun at the election process all presidential candidates must go through to get elected. The funniest part was Lucy's frustration with people calling in to her talk radio show. The special marks the first animated appearance of Snoopy's Joe Cool persona. It also marks the first time Vince Guaraldi wrote the words to a song. That song would be Joe Cool, which he also sang. For someone who didn't normally sing, Guaraldi did a good job. Originally, the special was called You're Elected, Charlie Brown. They sing that in the opening theme, and Linus even says it at one point. During production, one of the animators pointed out the title didn't make sense. Not only did Charlie Brown not get elected, he doesn't even run. So they threw the word "not" in the title. Though the special was still advertised as You're Elected, Charlie Brown. The next special was There's No Time for Love, Charlie Brown. Released on March 11th, 1973, the special features the first animated appearance of Marcy. The special is about Charlie Brown, Sally, Marcy, and Peppermint Patty going on a field trip to an art museum, but end up in a supermarket. They don't even realize their mistake until much later. Given how bad modern art can be, it probably would be hard to tell the difference. With 9 specials under his belt, Charles Schultz was ready to try something different. So far, all of them had scenes or plots taken from the strip. For his 10th special, Schultz wanted to tell an original story. He started to think about the food people prepare for Thanksgiving. He began to wonder what kind of meal Charlie Brown would make. Thus came Of Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. Released on November 20th, 1973, the special shows Peppermint Patty inviting herself, Marcy, and Franklin over to Charlie Brown's house for Thanksgiving dinner. The problem is, Charlie Brown was going over to his grandma's house, so he, Linus, Sally, Snoopy, and Woodstock prepare their own meal for their guest. The most controversial scene in the special is the ending, where Snoopy and Woodstock eat turkey together. Some see Woodstock eating turkey as cannibalism. Even Lee Mendelson pointed that out to Schultz before it aired. Everyone seems to forget that Snoopy had a turkey all along and didn't share it with the kids. A Charlie Brown Thanksgiving may not be as iconic as a Charlie Brown Christmas or It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. It showed that a Peanuts special didn't need to be an adaptation of the strip. It could tell new stories. The special marked the first time Phil Ramone served as director of a Peanuts special. He would go on to direct 16 altogether. The next special, It's a Mystery Charlie Brown, would continue the idea of telling original stories. Released on February 1st, 1974, It's a Mystery Charlie Brown follows Snoopy in his quest to find Woodstock's stolen nest. On April 9th of the same year, It's the Easter Beagle Charlie Brown first aired. Unlike the previous specials, this one would borrow scenes from the strip as the earlier specials did. Some were disappointed that they didn't explore Easter's religious side, as they did with Christmas and the Charlie Brown Christmas, though most see It's the Easter Beagle Charlie Brown as another great holiday special. Speaking of holiday specials, Be My Valentine Charlie Brown aired on January 28th, 1975. Unrequited love was a favorite theme explored in Peanuts. This time, the special focuses on Linus's love for his teacher, Miss Arfmore. We also see Charlie Brown try without success to get a Valentine. Though he does get a used one the next day from Violet. There are two scenes from the special worth noting. The scene where Schroeder is calling out names of people who got a Valentine. Many of them were names of the kids of Schultz, Mendelson, Melendez, and some of the staff. Lee Mendelson's name was mentioned for some reason, but Craig, Schultz's son, wasn't. Did he do something wrong and this was his punishment? Anyway, the second scene is when Linus throws pieces of candy he bought for his teacher off a bridge. When working on the special, someone asked, why doesn't Linus give the candy to someone else? Schultz decided that Snoopy and Woodstock would stand under the bridge and catch the candy in their mouths. Whatever the reason for not being mentioned, Craig Schultz would serve as inspiration for the next special. You see, Craig had taken an interest in a little-known sport called motocross. This caught the attention of his father, and thus we got You're a Good Sport, Charlie Brown. Premiering on October 28th, 1975, the special shows Charlie Brown, Peppermint Patty, and Snoopy competing in the motocross. Although he is given the number 13, a lousy motorbike, and a pumpkin for a helmet, Charlie Brown managed to win. One of the few occasions he does. It's a bit of a hollow victory, though, as his prize is a gift certificate for 5 free haircuts instead of Pro Bowl tickets that was promised. You're a Good Sport, Charlie Brown brought mainstream attention to motocross, thus showing the power the Peanut specials had. Maybe they could bring mainstream attention to a little-known holiday called Arbor Day. First aired on March 16th, 1976, It's Arbor Day. Charlie Brown has Sally learn about Arbor Day from Linus. In a way, he is serving the same function as he did in the Charlie Brown Christmas. Feeling inspired, Sally leads the other characters to turn the baseball field into a garden. Charlie Brown is upset by this, for he has a game against Peppermint Patty's team, though the garden does give Charlie Brown's team an advantage. The founder of Arbor Day's granddaughter thanked Schultz, Mendelssohn, and Melendez for making the special. For most viewers, It's Arbor Day. Charlie Brown was a disappointment. Many saw this special as Schultz scraping the bottom of the barrel for ideas. Previous holiday specials were about holidays most people celebrated. Arbor Day is a holiday most people don't celebrate. Because of this, It's Arbor Day. Charlie Brown often gets overlooked. The special does mark the first animated appearance of Rerun, and it's sadly the last time Vince Guaraldi composed and performed for a Peanut special. Guaraldi went to a doctor complaining about chest pains. His doctor told him it was only heartburn, so that night Guaraldi performed at a club. In between sets, he went to his hotel room next door to take a break. He was accompanied by his drummer, Jim Zimmerman, who would later comment what happened. He was walking across the room and just collapsed. That was it. Vince Guaraldi died from a heart attack. He was 47 years old. The sad part about his passing was that Schultz wanted him to compose the music for the next movie, Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown, which came out on August 24th, 1977. Ed Bogus was brought in as Guaraldi's replacement. He would go on to compose the music for many of the specials, as well as the next movie. Bogus would later be joined by his future wife, Desiree Goyette, who would also provide the singing. On October 24th of that year came the special It's Your First Kiss, Charlie Brown. Schultz never considered the specials to be canon to the strip. Things he was against doing in the strip he didn't mind doing in the specials. For instance, showing the little red-haired girl. For years, she had been an unseen character, but now fans were given a chance to see what she looks like in It's Your First Kiss, Charlie Brown. She was even given the name Heather. Schultz had no involvement in her design. The special is one of the most divisive in the Peanuts library. Some, including Schultz, thought it was a mistake to show the little red-haired girl. Others objected to how everyone blamed Charlie Brown for missing the place kicks during the game, even though Lucy kept pulling away the football. Re-airings of the special always dubbed out Peppermint Patty's remarks after Charlie Brown missed. During their vacation to Alaska with his wife Jeannie, Schultz visited a place with sled dogs. He noticed how the dogs were kept on short leashes. This got him to thinking how Snoopy behaves more like a human than a dog. What if Snoopy had to become a sled dog? What if he had to change his personality in order to survive? The result was What a Nightmare, Charlie Brown. First aired on February 23rd, 1978, this special only has Charlie Brown and Snoopy, making it the special with the least amount of Peanuts characters. What a nightmare, Charlie Brown shows Snoopy having a nightmare about pulling a dog sled in Alaska after eating too many pizzas before bed. Throughout the special, Snoopy finds his usual antics aren't enough to help him in the situation he's in, so he starts to behave more like a real dog. The only dialogue comes from Charlie Brown, making What a Nightmare, Charlie Brown a mostly silent special. Although some sled dog owners criticize the portrayal of the sled dogs, What a Nightmare, Charlie Brown was a success. It became one of Charles Schulz and Lee Mendelssohn's favorite specials. In that same year, Schulz, Mendelssohn, and Melendez released an educational short called Toothbrushing. It was shown in schools to teach kids the importance of brushing their teeth. The final special that aired in the 70s was You're the Greatest, Charlie Brown. Premiering on March 19, 1979, the special is about Charlie Brown, Snoopy, Marcy, and a kid named Freddie Fabulous competing in the decathlon. Even though Charlie Brown lost, the characters weren't hard on him. Peppermint Patty, who served as his coach, actually praised him throughout the special. This was probably done to make up for It's Your First Kiss, Charlie Brown, where everyone blamed him for losing the football game, even though it wasn't his fault. One interesting tidbit about You're the Greatest, Charlie Brown is that legendary voice actor Mel Blanc provided the grunts for Charlie Brown, making him one of the few adult voice actors to do a voice for Peanuts animated project. Also in 1979, two more educational films were made. The first is It's Dental Philosophy, Charlie Brown, which discusses the importance of flossing. The second is Charlie Brown Clears the Air, which talks about the dangers of air pollution. This was made in collaboration with the American Lung Association and the EPA. During the 70s, the Peanuts characters were used in commercials to advertise for Dolly Madison treats. Schulz never held the Dolly Madison commercials in the same regards as he did with the Ford Falcon. He felt the commercials didn't treat his characters with dignity. Schulz had to accept it at the time, for Dolly Madison sponsored many of the specials. The 70s proved to be a big decade for the Peanuts characters' animation career. They appeared in 12 specials, 2 movies, and 3 educational films. That's more than they did the previous decade. Schulz was also starting to take risks by telling original stories. This didn't always give the best results, as we've seen with It's Your First Kiss, Charlie Brown. But without telling original stories, we wouldn't have gotten specials like What a Nightmare, Charlie Brown. Things were only going to get bigger. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. And don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later. The year 1980 would prove to be a big year for Peanuts when it comes to animation. On February 25th, the special She's a Good Skate, Charlie Brown first aired on CBS. This time, Peppermint Patty was the main focus, as she was training for an ice skating contest. Snoopy plays the role of her grumpy coach. The special was an adaptation of the longest storyline ever told in the strip. It also became the most ambitious special Schulz Mendelsohn and Melendez made to date. Schultz insisted that Peppermint Patty's skating be executed perfectly, so the animators brought in three skaters to serve as models. One of them was Schultz's daughter Amy. Director Phil Ramone explained the process. For She's a Good Skate, Charlie Brown, they shot live footage, then sent me rotoscope photos. I used them for the timing. But in the photos, you've got a big adult with long legs. The strides, the push-ups, the turns are different for a little kid with short legs and a big head. Bill Littlejohn animated it, but I did all the timing and the pan moves because the background moved with the characters. They also brought in Jason Saranis to provide Woodstock's whistle for the song O Mino Bonino Caro. Their hard work paid off, as She's a Good Skate, Charlie Brown is considered one of the greatest Peanut specials ever made. Although Lee Mendelsohn and Bill Melendez were loyal to Schultz, they didn't work for him exclusively. They often worked on other projects in between specials and movies. One special they made was called The Fantastic Funnies. Released on May 15th, this rarely seen special was a celebration of comic strips both old and new. One of the various cartoonists they interviewed was, of course, Charles Schultz. It also includes a brief animated segment of Snoopy singing Supper Time from the off-Broadway play You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. Although not canon to the Peanut specials, the Fantastic Funnies marked the first time the viewer could hear Snoopy's thoughts in animation. The special also marked the animated debut of Garfield, who would go on to star in a series of TV specials that would rival Peanuts in popularity. On May 30th, the movie Bon Voyage, Charlie Brown and Don't Come Back was released in theaters. It would be the last Peanuts movie made in Schultz's lifetime. October 24th saw the release of Life as a Circus, Charlie Brown. Unlike the previous special, Life as a Circus, Charlie Brown told an original story. A circus comes to town, and Snoopy falls in love with a performing dog named Fifi. He then joins the circus, where he becomes a popular star named Hugo the Great. Charlie Brown finds himself missing his dog. This is similar to the movie Snoopy Comes Home, and to a lesser extent, He's Your Dog, Charlie Brown. Unlike the movie or the special, Charlie Brown doesn't act like he's happy to see Snoopy when he comes home. In fact, he actually looks mad. Why wouldn't he be happy to see him? Is he mad that Snoopy joined the circus in the first place? A little known fact about Charles Schultz is his fascination with magic. One of his closest friends was Dr. Robert Albo, himself an amateur magician. Over the years, the two exchanged magic tricks. They even co-owned the Palace of Magic shop in San Francisco. Schultz was even a member of the Academy of Magical Arts and an honorary member of the Magic Castle. This led to the next special, It's Magic, Charlie Brown. Released on April 28, 1981, It's Magic, Charlie Brown features Snoopy checking out a book of magic at the library. He then goes on to perform a magic show where he makes Charlie Brown invisible. At first, Charlie Brown hates being invisible until he learns that he could kick the football while Lucy's holding it, making it the only time he was able to kick the football. Sidney Penny, who provided the voice of Lucy, would play a little girl named Lily and the Big Stuffed Dog, an NBC special about a big Snoopy toy. Someday You'll Find Her, Charlie Brown would premiere on October 30th. Although Charlie Brown is known for his unrequited love for the little red-haired girl, this special focused on him falling in love with a girl he saw in the audience at a football game on TV. He, Linus, Snoopy, and Woodstock go out of their way to find this girl, only to have Linus fall in love with her. Don't worry, Charlie Brown. There's always the little red-haired girl. When Schultz, Mendelsohn, and Melendez first worked on a Charlie Brown Christmas, CBS originally wanted them to make an hour-long special. Lee Mendelsohn successfully talked them down to a half hour. He felt they wouldn't have been able to make an hour-long special due to the time and budget restraints. With 22 specials and 4 movies under their belt, the 3 of them were ready to try their hand with the hour-long format. The result was a Charlie Brown Celebration. Premiering on May 24th, 1982, the special starts off with Charles Schultz doing an intro. This moment alone separates a Charlie Brown Celebration from previous specials. A Charlie Brown Celebration is a collection of short segments, each one adapted from the strip. Is This Goodbye, Charlie Brown would go back to the half-hour format. Premiering on February 23rd, 1983, the special has Linus and Lucy move to a new neighborhood. This was an adaptation of a storyline from the strip. Schroeder actually starts to miss Lucy, indicating he might care about her more than he lets on. On May 16th, the special It's an Adventure Charlie Brown premiered. Like a Charlie Brown Celebration, It's an Adventure Charlie Brown is an hour-long special that contains short segments that were adapted from the strip. Though it doesn't have an intro by Charles Schultz. Lee Mendelssohn's son Jason, who was only 4 at the time, provided the voice of Rerun. Jason would go on to voice Peppermint Patty and Marcy in a few specials. He would later help work on the storyboards. For many years, CBS tried to get Charles Schultz to create a Saturday morning show. Schultz was reluctant to do so, for he didn't know if he would have time to work on one. He sure didn't want anyone else to write it. He finally agreed, on the condition that he write the episodes. The result was The Charlie Brown and Snoopy Show. Premiering on September 17th, The Charlie Brown and Snoopy Show followed the anthology format of the hour-long specials. Each episode was divided in 3 segments. Most of them were an adaptation of the strip, but there were a few original stories. The first season had an instrumental theme, while the second season included lyrics that were written and sung by Desiree Goyette. Snoopy's sister Belle made her animated debut in the intro, yet she oddly never appeared in an episode. The Charlie Brown and Snoopy Show would run for 18 episodes before ending on August 3rd, 1986. Why didn't it last longer? As Lee Mendelsohn explains, we had done 18 shows when Sparky called and said, I don't want to do it anymore. It wasn't that he didn't like the Saturday morning shows. He just didn't want to spend any more time on them, as the series takes a lot more time than a special. So I called the network and told them he doesn't want to do any more, and I can't make them. That's why the series only lasted 18 shows. He was the boss, and he made the decisions. The show might have lasted longer if Charles Schulz had been more willing to let other people write for it. Both It's an Adventure Charlie Brown and the Charlie Brown and Snoopy Show were the last time Phil Ramone worked on a Peanuts project. You see, Lee Mendelson and Bill Melendez worked on the first two Garfield specials. Charles Schulz was fine with them doing this, for he knew they needed work in between specials. He even helped Jim Davis draw Garfield standing up for Here Comes Garfield. Then the Garfield specials began to compete for the same awards as the Peanuts specials. Schulz and Davis found this to be problematic. It meant that no matter which special won the award, Lee Mendelson and Bill Melendez were guaranteed a victory. So they were told by Schulz to either work on Peanuts or Garfield. They, of course, chose Peanuts. Phil Ramone would form his new studio, Film Ramone, so he could work on the rest of the Garfield specials. Although Bill Melendez would never again work on a Garfield project, Lee Mendelson would later serve as an executive producer for Garfield and Friends. Charles Schulz was a patriotic man, having proudly served in the Army during World War II. He wanted to create a special that honored the veterans of both World War I and World War II. Bon Voyage, Charlie Brown ended with the characters still in France, so he decided that, while trying to go home, they ended up on Omaha Beach. Once there, the characters start to talk about the world wars. Schulz even wanted Linus to recite the poem in Flanders Field. The only problem he had is what to call the special. Schulz came up with the title during a sleepless night in the hospital after a coronary bypass surgery. What Have We Learned, Charlie Brown? Released on Memorial Day, Schulz hoped that it would become a yearly special. Sadly, that wasn't the case. CBS didn't see What Have We Learned, Charlie Brown as commercially viable enough to air every year. Still, it's a great Memorial Day special. It is also the only special to be a continuation. Schulz's patriotism led to the Peanuts characters to be used in the PSA to help fix the Statue of Liberty in 1984. The PSA shows Lucy dressed as the Statue of Liberty and asking for donations to help fix her. As we've seen, Schulz found inspiration for Peanuts specials in surprising places. What a Nightmare Charlie Brown came about after a trip to Alaska, and It's Magic Charlie Brown from A Love of Magic. Once Schulz went to see the movie Flashdance and was inspired to create the musical special It's Flash Beagle Charlie Brown. Released on April 16, 1984, It's Flash Beagle Charlie Brown features some of the best songs by Ed Bogus and Desiree Goyette. The special doesn't have a straightforward narrative, but it's really the songs that sells it. Like She's a Good Skate Charlie Brown, It's Flash Beagle Charlie Brown makes use of rotoscope. Schulz's daughter Jill would serve as a model for Peppermint Patty's aerobics. Maureen Yonhan, the lady who served as a dancing double for Jennifer Beals in Flashdance, would model for Snoopy's epic dance. Unlike the movie, she was given credit for the special. Desiree Goyette and Joe Scarberry would sing the title song. In a way, It's Flash Beagle Charlie Brown is the most dated of the Peanuts specials, for the music and clothes all scream 80s. Yet in a way, it is perhaps the best representation of the 80s specials. in that it isn't afraid to be different. Its Flash Spiegel Charlie Brown features Stacey Ferguson as the voice of Sally, who is better known as Fergie of Black Eyed Peas. Snoopy's Getting Married Charlie Brown would premiere on March 30th, 1985. Snoopy meets a girl while guarding Peppermint Patty's house and now wants to get married. On November 6th, the hour-long special You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown premiered, an adaptation of the off-Broadway musical. You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown marked the first time the audience could hear Snoopy's farts in an official Peanuts special. His voice was provided by Robert Towers, who also played him on stage. For many years, audiences were used to hearing the sounds Bill Melendez made for Snoopy, so hearing Robert Towers' voice was off-putting for some. On New Year's 1986, Happy New Year Charlie Brown premiered. Although Schultz felt it was a mistake to physically show the little red-haired girl in It's Your First Kiss Charlie Brown, she is shown once again. She has the same design as before and is still named Heather. Since 1959, the Peanuts characters had been appearing in commercials. First the Ford Falcon, then Weber's Bread, Dolly Madison, Cheerios, and Chex Mix. In 1986, the characters started to appear in commercials for MetLife. They would be associated with the company for years to come. On January 29, 1988, Snoopy the Musical premiered. Like You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, Snoopy the Musical was an adaptation of a stage musical. Once again, audiences got to hear Snoopy's farts. This time, he is voiced by Cam Clark, who is best known as the original voice of Leonardo in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Liquid from the Metal Gear games. He would also provide Snoopy's voice for a talking Snoopy toy. As we've seen, Charles Schultz wasn't afraid to try something different with the specials. The final special of the decade was the most ambitious one he, Mendelsohn, and Melendez ever made. Schultz admired how movies like Mary Poppins combined live action with animation, so he decided to make the next special like that. To top it off, Snoopy's brother Spike would be the star. Snoopy and Charlie Brown would have minor roles. Schultz's son Monty was brought in as a co-writer and his daughter Jill to star, making this special a family project. It would be called It's the Girl in the Red Truck Charlie Brown. Released on September 27, 1988, it was Schultz's desire that this special would be his magnum opus. Instead, It's the Girl in the Red Truck Charlie Brown would be panned by both fans and critics alike. The main complaint was that the special lacked a story. Others compared it unfavorably to Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which premiered earlier. It's the Girl in the Red Truck Charlie Brown would fall into obscurity. Though it may have been the last special of the 80s, It's the Girl in the Red Truck Charlie Brown wasn't the final animation project for Peanuts. On October 21st, This Is America Charlie Brown premiered. It was an 8-part mini-series that covered important events in American history. It was one of the few times adults were used in Peanuts, so adult voice actors were brought in, like Frank Welker, Greg Berger, Hal Smith, and Cam Clark even returned briefly to voice Snoopy. Ordinarily, Schultz wouldn't have allowed adults to be shown, but he felt it was important for kids to be exposed to American history. The 80s had some of the most ambitious projects ever made for Peanuts. Not only did they tell original stories, they allowed us to hear Snoopy's thoughts, explore American history, see an invisible Charlie Brown kick the football, hear Woodstock's amazing whistle, and watch Snoopy dance to an awesome song. We got to see the characters star in hour-long specials, a Saturday morning cartoon, and a mini-series. The special started to use techniques like rotoscope and live action with animation. Schultz, Mendelsohn, Melendez, and their staff really pushed themselves this decade. It was also around this time that VHS of the specials was starting to become available, allowing fans to rewatch their favorites. What is to come in the next decade? Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments section what you guys think. And don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later. A California nurse named Sylvia Cook wrote a letter to Charles Schultz asking him to make a short educational film about cancer for kids. By this point, the Peanuts characters were no strangers to education, having appeared in short films on dental hygiene and air pollution in the 70s. At first, Schultz was reluctant to make the film, for he knew very little about cancer. He eventually warmed up to the idea, but instead of a short educational film, he decided to make the half-hour TV special Why Charlie Brown Why? Premiering on March 16, 1990, Why Charlie Brown Why features a girl named Janice. A close friend of Linus, Janice was diagnosed with leukemia. The special explains the testing involved, as well as chemotherapy. The most memorable part of the special is when Linus puts a bully in his place for making fun of Janice's bald head. Why Charlie Brown Why ends with Janice's hat flying off, revealing her hair has grown back. Some viewers interpret this to mean that Janice has given up chemotherapy and is going to die. Schultz always maintained that Janice is cured. Schultz was pleased with how well This Is America Charlie Brown turned out, and decided to make another miniseries. Instead of an educational one on American history, he wanted to explore Snoopy and his siblings' life on the Daisy Hill puppy farm. The miniseries was going to be called Those Were the Days, Charlie Brown. Schultz wrote a script for 8 episodes and sent them to CBS for approval. CBS nixed the idea. Their objection? The dogs didn't talk. Schultz tried to reason with them, but failed. The idea did get used in the special Snoopy's reunion. Premiering on May 1st, 1991, Snoopy's reunion discusses Snoopy's life before being Charlie Brown's dog. Though it contradicts what had been established in the strip, as well as Snoopy Come Home and Life as a Circus Charlie Brown. For a long time, the backstory on how Charlie Brown got Snoopy was that when he was younger, some kid dumped sand on his head and he started to cry. The following day, his parents took him to the Daisy Hill puppy farm to buy Snoopy. Years later, he learns from Linus that a girl named Lila owned Snoopy before him. Here, Charlie Brown got Snoopy when he's older and learns right away about Lila owning him. Snoopy's reunion marked the first time we got to see all of Snoopy's siblings together. Spike, Belle, and Olaf first appeared in the strip. Andy, Marley, and Rover were created for this special. Although Schultz never considered the specials canon to the strip, he would bring Andy into the strip. thus making him only one of two characters to appear in animation before appearing in the strip, the other one being Snoopy's mom, Missy. Fans debate whether or not Molly and Rover should be considered canon, since they never appeared in the strip. In a way, Snoopy's reunion is symbolic of the Peanut specials of the 90s. It was during this time some of their ideas were rejected. One special that never got made was entitled I'll Be Home for Christmas. The story was going to be about Snoopy going to Hollywood to compete in a skating contest. Charlie Brown begins to miss him, and all he wants for Christmas is to have his dog home. Lucy wants Snoopy home because he hadn't paid his 20-cent psychiatry bill. Another one called It's a Dog's Life, Charlie Brown featured Snoopy writing his memoirs about his life and the lives of his siblings. The final unproduced special was called Will Ye No Come Back Again, Charlie Brown. Inspired by a trip Schultz and his wife took to Scotland, the special was to have the characters go to Scotland for a singing competition. Once there, Linus and Charlie Brown meet a girl named Nell, and the three of them try to find the Loch Ness Monster. Since A Charlie Brown Christmas, CBS had always been the network to air the Peanut specials. Its spring training Charlie Brown was meant to air on May 28, 1992. For some reason, it never aired on CBS. It might have remained unseen by the public had it not been for the rise of the direct-to-video market. Thus, its spring training Charlie Brown made its debut direct-to-video. Released in 1996, the special features the return of Mr. Hennessy from Charlie Brown's All-Stars. Once again, Mr. Hennessy wants to sponsor Charlie Brown's team. He doesn't want Charlie Brown to kick the girls and Snoopy off the team. This time, his condition is he will only sponsor them if they win their first game. It's Christmas Time Again, Charlie Brown was released on video and given out at Shell gas stations, thus making it the first special released directly to video. Unlike its spring training Charlie Brown, its Christmas Time Again Charlie Brown would air on CBS on November 27, 1992. Like A Charlie Brown Celebration and It's an Adventure Charlie Brown, this special is a collection of stories that take place around Christmas. You're in the Super Bowl, Charlie Brown marked the first time a Peanut special aired on a network other than CBS. It would premiere on January 18, 1994 on NBC. This was due to the fact that the Super Bowl aired on NBC that year. The special features the characters competing for tickets to the Super Bowl. Despite the title, Charlie Brown doesn't get to go. It's some girl named Melody. Snoopy coached a team of birds through 3 football games. It Was My Best Birthday Ever, Charlie Brown was released directly to video on August 5, 1997. It shows Linus meeting a girl named Fifi after leaving a birthday party. He falls in love with her and invites her to his own party. After seeing the ambitious projects that came out of the 80s, the 90s were a bit of a letdown. The specials are by no means terrible, but before, each decade topped the previous one. The 50s had a commercial and an intro. The 60s had 6 specials and a movie. The 70s had 12 specials, 2 movies, and 3 educational shorts. And the 80s had 13 specials, 1 movie, a Saturday morning cartoon, and a mini-series. The 90s only had 6 specials. Part of the reason for the low number is that CBS was under new management and they didn't see animated specials as profitable. This is why they started to turn down some of Schultz's ideas. Another reason was that Schultz, Mendelsohn, and Melendez were getting older and having a harder time getting together to make the specials. The 90s may not have had as many animated projects as previous decades, but it showed that the Peanuts character's animation career was far from over. VHS allowed fans to buy old specials, as well as show original ones that never aired on TV. In 1998, Nickelodeon purchased the broadcast rights to many of the specials, The Charlie Brown and Snoopy Show and This Is America, Charlie Brown. They aired them on a program called You're on Nickelodeon, Charlie Brown. This allowed fans to see many of the specials on TV for the first time. It even aired its Spring Training Charlie Brown for the first time on TV. The 90s would end on a sad note. In 1999, Charles Schulz was diagnosed with cancer and would be retiring the Peanut strip. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. And don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later. On February 12, 2000, Charles Schulz, the beloved creator of Peanuts, died in his sleep. He was 77 years old. The next day, the world got to read the final Peanut strip. It had been known for years that nobody was going to continue the strip after his passing. But what does it mean for the animated shows? Would there never be another animated project with Charlie Brown, Snoopy, and the gang? That was the question on everyone's mind. At first, it looked like there was going to be at least one more special. Before his death, Schulz had been working on It's the Pied Piper, Charlie Brown. Much like It Was My Best Birthday Ever, Charlie Brown, It's the Pied Piper, Charlie Brown was released directly to video on September 12, 2000. As of the making of this video, neither special has ever aired on TV. The special, as the title suggests, is a retelling of the Pied Piper story, with the Peanuts characters. Snoopy would play the role of the Pied Piper, only he uses a concertina instead of a pipe. The special features adults. While not the first special to show adults, It's the Pied Piper Charlie Brown was the first to show a lot of them. There were moments where the adults referred to Charlie Brown as being just a kid, which felt wrong. Many fans would go on to consider It's the Pied Piper Charlie Brown one of the worst Peanut specials ever made. Bill Melendez would later describe it as strange. He felt that there were too many adults, and that the special should have placed more focus on the Peanuts characters. The Schulz family debated whether or not to continue the specials. As Craig Schulz explains, we originally thought that if the voice wasn't coming from my dad, then it shouldn't be done. After the shock of his passing, we realized that animation is really our door forward. Without animation, everything else suffers. You can only have a property last so long when you're dealing with toys and t-shirts and so forth. Out of the 50 old shows, people are only seeing 2 or 3 a year. That was tough. Just like that, it was decided that the specials would continue. The new specials would air on ABC rather than CBS, as they had in the past. Lee Mendelson made the decision not to tell original stories. Instead, he followed the example of the Charlie Brown and Snoopy show and adapted the old comic strips. The first new special to air was a Charlie Brown Valentine, which premiered on Valentine's Day 2002, followed by Charlie Brown's Christmas Tales on December 8th. The next special was a non-holiday one, Lucy Must Be Traded Charlie Brown. Premiering on August 29th, 2003, this baseball-themed special showed Charlie Brown trying to get rid of his worst player, Lucy. Lucy now has the distinction of being the only character other than Charlie Brown and Snoopy to have her name in the title. On December 9th, a fourth Christmas special premiered. I Want a Dog for Christmas, Charlie Brown. This would be the first hour-long special since the failure of It's the Girl in the Red Truck, Charlie Brown. I Want a Dog for Christmas, Charlie Brown focuses on Rerun's attempts to get a dog for Christmas. He eventually becomes friends with Snoopy's older brother, Spike. The next special, He's a Bully, Charlie Brown, premiered on November 20th, 2006. During summer camp, Rerun is conned out of his marbles by a bully named Joe Agate, who is voiced by Taylor Lautner, best known as Jacob from the Twilight movies. After some training, Charlie Brown challenges Joe Agate to a contest to win them back, and he succeeded. Like the other specials, He's a Bully, Charlie Brown is an adaptation of a storyline from the strip. However, it has the most original material. That is because Charles Schulz was working on an outline for this special before his death. In a way, He's a Bully, Charlie Brown is the last special he personally worked on. Sadly, it would also be the last special Lee Mendelson and Bill Melendez worked on. On September 2nd, 2008, Bill Melendez, animator, director, and voice of Snoopy and Woodstock, died. He was 91 years old. His passing marked the end of an era. Was continuing the specials after Schultz's death the right decision? In my humble opinion, yes. While the specials that came after his death tended to play it safe, it's nice to know that It's the Pied Piper, Charlie Brown wasn't the last Peanuts special. In a way, I wish the Schultz family had been a little braver with telling original stories. Charles Schultz was never afraid to try something different. Then again, they aren't him. So it was probably best that they took the route they did. With Schultz and Melendez gone, what was to come next? It wouldn't take long for this question to get answered. In 2008, the Peanuts motion comics premiered on iTunes. All of them are comics from 1964. For that was the year the Schultz family determined that the strip was at its best. The motion comics may seem like a step backwards for Peanuts. After all, they had starred in 44 specials, 4 movies, 3 educational shorts, a Saturday morning cartoon, a miniseries, and hundreds of commercials. Yet they might have been a step in the right direction. Charles Schultz and Bill Melendez had passed on. Lee Mendelson may have still been alive, but he wasn't interested in continuing without them. The Schultz family needed to take baby steps when it comes to continuing Peanuts animation without them. After all, Peanuts got its big start with a commercial. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. And don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later. On March March 29th, 2011, a new Peanut special was released directly to DVD. It was an hour-long special called Happiness is a Warm Blanket, Charlie Brown. Pixar animator Andy Bell would serve as both director and the voice of Snoopy. Craig Schultz and Pearls Before Swine creator Stephan Pastis wrote the special. It was decided that Happiness is a Warm Blanket, Charlie Brown would have a retro look to it. So the characters look as they did in the 60s. Rerun, who played a major role in the last two specials, doesn't appear. Like the specials that came after Charles Schultz's death, Happiness is a Warm Blanket, Charlie Brown is a collection of old strips strung together to form its story. This time, it centers around Linus and his blanket. While it doesn't offer anything new, Happiness is a Warm Blanket, Charlie Brown is a nice addition to the library of Peanut specials. One interesting scene is that they adapted the first strip, in which Shermy states that he hates Charlie Brown. Unfortunately, Happiness is a Warm Blanket, Charlie Brown would be the only special made in this decade. However, this doesn't mean there wouldn't be any more animated projects for Peanuts. In 2014, a French studio called Normal Animation Studio and the Italian studio called D'Angelo Pictures joined together to create a series of TV shorts simply called Peanuts. A year later, on November 6, Blue Sky Studios released the first Peanuts movie in 35 years, simply called The Peanuts Movie. Although both the TV shorts and the movie honor the legacy of Charles Schultz, they depart from all previous adaptations in one way: the title. Every animated project had either Charlie Brown or Snoopy's name in the title, or both in the case of the Charlie Brown and Snoopy show. The TV shorts and the movie both had Peanuts in the title. Schultz hated that title. The animated projects were a way for him to avoid using it. This shows that the new generation, while respectful to his legacy, don't have the same issues with the title Peanuts the way he did. In 2016, MetLife announced that they would no longer be using the Peanuts characters in their advertisements. This was a big blow for fans. Over the years, the Peanuts characters had appeared in commercials for various companies. But MetLife is the company most people associate the Peanuts characters with. They had been with the company since 1986. It was always fun seeing the commercials pop up. They were a great way of seeing the Peanuts characters in between projects. Speaking of which, on November 1st, 2019, Apple TV Plus released a series of 12 shorts called Snoopy in Space. The shorts follow Snoopy and Woodstock's adventures as they train at NASA to go into space, then the moon. The shorts end with the possibility that they will go to Mars one day. Snoopy in Space was made to help promote the space program to kids. Unlike Happiness is a Warm Blanket, Charlie Brown, or the Peanuts TV shorts, Snoopy in Space doesn't rely on stringing old strips together to tell its story. Yet at the same time, it's part of Peanuts history. The Peanuts characters have had a long history with NASA, dating all the way back to the Apollo 10 mission. On Christmas Day 2019, Lee Mendelson, producer of the Peanuts projects, died. He was 86 years old. In a way, it was fitting that he died on Christmas Day, for it was because of him we got A Charlie Brown Christmas. This led to a series of specials, movies, and TV shows. Charles Schultz, Lee Mendelson, and Bill Melendez had an amazing partnership. What made it work so well is that they respected each other's territory. Both Mendelson and Melendez were able to recognize that Peanuts is Schultz's creation. They didn't always agree with him on certain creative decisions, but they never tried to go over his head. Schultz, in turn, was able to recognize the part Mendelson and Melendez played in making the projects work. Mendelson was the producer, while Melendez was the animator, director, and voice of Snoopy and Woodstock. All three were able to see that they needed each other in order for any of these projects to work. They were more than business partners, they were friends. The kind of loyalty they had for each other is rare, especially in show business. As sad as their passing is, we can take comfort in the fact that they are reunited. Now for the Peanuts character's future in animation. Is there one? If there's one thing we can take away from the 2010s, it's that the Peanuts characters still have a place in the world of animation. There may not have been as many projects as the previous decades, but there is still interest in them. It's hard to say what the next big project will be. Perhaps another movie, maybe a special, maybe a TV show, or maybe it could be more commercials. Who knows? Let's be hopeful for the future, yet we should remember the past. The animated legacy of Peanuts is an impressive one. If you can, go out and buy the DVDs. If you already own them, go watch them. Try to show them to someone who hasn't seen them before. Let's spread the awesome legacy that Peanuts has. Happy 70th birthday, Peanuts. May you enjoy another 70. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. And don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later.